Hi everyone! So it's the end of another week and it's time to talk about the book I've been reading this week. I'm uploading this video a lot later in the day than I usually do, when I do my book reviews on a Sunday, because today is my 30th birthday. I've had a really, really lovely day with my mum and dad, having a really, really great, enjoyable time, and because of that I haven't been around to record this video, and I've actually finished off the book earlier today as well. So I hadn't quite finished it by this morning to have done the video then, because obviously, I'm not going to do the video before I finish the book. So, so this video is going to be uploaded a bit later than usual on my channel, because I've had, such a really, really lovely day. But anyway, enough about me turning 30. Let's talk about the book that I've been reading this week, which is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Now, this is quite an unusual book, and it's so intriguing. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's all about how we are all connected through time, and it follows the lives of 6 different people, ranging from the 1800s to a year that's not really known to us. It's referred to as being about 100 winters after the fall, but we don't know when exactly the fall took place. So, it could be couple of thousand years in the future. We have absolutely no idea. Okay, so our first story is following a man in the 1800s who is on a boat. He's gone overseas to look at the plantation that his father-in-law is involved in, and then sorting out contracts and such for it. And he comes across a doctor who tells him that he's caught a worm that is very dangerous, and he has to go home to England. He discovers this on the way home, and he also finds a slave hiding away in his room on the boat. So what's he going to do about that? Then you have a woman in the well, I'm skipping one story, sorry. You have a man in the 1930s who is in a relationship with another man called Sixsmith. That's his surname, obviously not his first name. He's rushed off to start a new job working for a famous composer, and it's about his relationship with this man, the composer's wife, and also him developing a piece of music which he refers to as the Cloud Atlas Sextet. Then the third story is a woman in the 1970s called Lisa Ray? Lisa Ray. Sorry, and the name's just completely fallen out of my head just right that second. So she is looking into a nuclear campaign, nuclear plant, and she stumbles across just by just complete chance. She ends up being stuck in a lift with Sixsmith, from the man who's involved in the second story, who's the lover to the main character in the second story, who works along with this nuclear at this nuclear plant, and there's her investigating a quite potential danger with this nuclear device, and the cover-up to make sure that it doesn't get out. Then the next story shifts to 2012, in which we're meeting a publisher who's an elderly man who has published this book for basically kind of like a gangster, called Knuckle Sandwich, and he there's this whole fiasco, with where he wants basically the money that he's owed for the millions of copies that have been sold of this book, which have only come about because he's murdered somebody, and it's gone all over the news. So therefore, everybody wants to buy his book because he's done this horrible thing, and he wants £50,000 out of his publisher, and he doesn't have that money, and he goes to his brother asking for his help, and his brother says, "Oh, I know a place you can hide away." He and his brother don't get along at all, so he shouldn't have really trusted his brother, and he finds that his brother has kind of signed him up to be put in a nursing home, and it's all about his escape from the nursing home. Right, then it really shifts to way in the future. We don't know exactly when in the future it is, but we meet a woman called Somni 451. Now, Somni is a waitress. She's working at a bar. Kind of it's kind of Japan is kind of where we know it's to be around, but it's never really said exactly where they are. But Somni is she's not human. She's a fabricant, which is a fake human form, kind of. You could say almost like a robot, but it's not. She is a person, but she's not born as humans are. So she's made basically in a factory sort of thing, and all the various waitresses have like the same face, but so you can have multiple Somnis. There's like 3 or 4 types, so you can have multiples of each type, and they're all called the name of their type, but they're distinct, but each of them have got a different number. So she's a Somni 451, but there's also Somni 452 and 453, etc., etc. So she is working at this place, and one of the other fabricants has reached her ascension. Now, ascension means when they've reached the point where they've kind of come to the end of their lifespan. Their minds are starting to develop, and they're starting to learn new things. And once they've reached that point, they then go off to ascend. But there's something that isn't quite right about it, and Somni is kind of broken out of the restaurant by a man who shows her the truth, and it's all about how she is the face of the revolution, which leads on to the fall. And as I said, the last story is set 100 odd years after the fall, in this new post-apocalyptic time, where it kind of feels like time is kind of reversed. It's gone back to very early man kind of stage, primitive tools, that kind of thing. But we do learn that, we meet a man called Zachary, who witnesses a murder of somebody he knows, of a friend, and by a kind of an equivalent to a native of the land, in regards to, I'm just thinking like of Native Americans, and those who have travelled over to America to start a new life, that kind of thing. So he sees this murder, and a woman turns up on their land, basically in a very futuristic ship. So there is technology around, but this group of people that we meet don't live in that area that she lives in. So the way in which they live, they talk, they hunt, they eat is very different than her. And it's the two of them working together, because she needs to climb a certain mountain to discover something. But he's plagued by a voice in his head that's telling him not to trust anyone, not to do that. And it's him breaking through their voices and discovering something about himself, about their society, about everything. So it's taken me about 9 minutes to explain all this, list of all the different stories, but it's so amazing, it's so complex, there's so much going on, but it's so brilliant at the same time, because what it's saying is that each of the characters, as you go through, have got a birthmark that's exactly the same. It's like a comet. And some people have it on different places, because like Lisa Ray's got it on the back of the neck. I think one of them has got it on sort of their shoulder, between the collarbone and shoulder blade. So Somni's got it on her neck. So there's very different people have had this birthmark in different places, but they all share it, and it's an amazing story about the thought of reincarnation and all that kind of thing, about how how our lives impact each other. It's really interesting, even down to the thing of, because the first guy who we meet in the 1800s, Adam Ewing, he has written a diary, and his diary has been published, which leads on to the story in 1930s, because the guy who we meet, who's working for the composer, is reading his diary, but half of it's missing, and it kind of like said he's writing music. So then Lisa Ray in the 1970s is listening to his, the music for the guy of the second story. So that is how it kind of it goes on and on and on. And it's very interesting how these characters, when they interact with each other, they kind of, occasionally it's said, I felt like I've known you all my life. How can I be feeling this when we've only just met? And falling in love and whatever, and knowing instantly that he's right, because it feels like there's something already there between them, but that can't be possible because they've never met before. It's really interesting, the reincarnation, and the weaving of each other, of characters and everything. And I want to read you actually it's the last kind of paragraph of the book that I think is an absolutely astonishing thing to write, and it really sums up what this book is about. So it ends with Adam Ewing. He's speaking to his father-in-law, who's the one who sent him, overseas to sort out these contracts for the colonies and everything. And his father-in-law is really kind of angry with him for a choice that he's made. And he's saying, this is just a bit of what his stepfather is saying, and what Adam replies with is absolutely fantastic and a perfect way to end this book. So naive, dreaming Adam, he who would do battle with the many-headed hydra of human nature, must pay a world of pain, and his family must pay it along with him. And only as you gasp your dying breath shall you understand your life amounted to no more than one drop in a limitless ocean. Yet, what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? And I love that, and especially thinking about like here in the UK, and the moment we've got the EU referendum that's going to be coming up, in the next few days, deciding on that will this is a monumental thing for us in the UK to make this decision, and what that's going to lead to. We are multitudes of drops in an ocean. We're going to, what we're going to do, if we banding together, we're going to make some, a very big change. It's amazing, and to see the world from that kind of perspective in this book, it's been really, really interesting week, certainly. Now, this is the first book of David Mitchell's I've ever read. I have to say, really loved it. He's got a very interesting way of writing, and especially because this is, very focused in diary entries and letters and conversations and such. Every single person he writes differently, because obviously every single person is an individual, so he has to. So it was very interesting that he doesn't have one distinct writing style in this book. He is all different, and I loved that. Some sections, I'll admit, were easier to read than others. I did find the first two sections quite tough to read, because they're the diary entries, of Adam and the letters from the 1930s. So sometimes reading those, it was a bit heavier, because the amount of information that the person, the character was writing. But once I got through that, it seemed to just suddenly flow, and I loved it. I thought it was really, really well written, and I love also how he structured it. So we meet the six in order. Although some, when certain points of the character stories kind of stop, and we don't know when it's going to be picked up. So the last one of the six, it's the middle of the book, and then he goes backwards from 6 all the way through to 1 for the second half of the book. So you're going forward in time, and then you're going back, and how interesting that pattern is, and to still be learning things as you're going backwards from, as well, from the points where you were going forwards. It's really, really cleverly done. There was a film version that was made. I mentioned that when when I picked the book out of the jar last week, which I really liked. I would hold up the DVD, but I've gone and left it on the other side of the room, so I don't have it with me. But you just have to visualise that I'm holding up the DVD there. And it has various different actors in, but each main actor was in every single story, so you could see the reincarnations, as it were, as you're going along. And some of them you don't, I was quite surprised because I had, for this week, because I liked the film, but I found it a bit confusing because it was so choppy and so over the flicking back and forth constantly. So for this week, I thought, right, I'll buy the film and I'll on DVD and I'll rewatch it. I think it's one of those films where it gets better the subsequent times that you watch it, but it's still very choppy. There's stuff that they've changed. And I think there's so much in the book that they cut out, which would have been brilliant if they put in. But obviously, time limits, and there's so many stories that they've got to cover. I totally understand why they did what they did. But Somni 451 has got so much more to her than what the film depicted. So it's a real shame that they didn't quite cover Somni how I wanted them to. But still, really enjoyed it. Rewatching. And as I said, I think it's a film that improves with subsequent watches of it. Right, so I'm going to stop there. So yeah, it's been a good week, very interesting, delving into a new author who didn't really have a distinct writing style because he was doing 6 different voices, 6 different ways of writing, but still really enjoyed it. I think I definitely read more of David Mitchell's work. And yeah, so I'm going to stop there and I'll upload this ASAP, so it should be hopefully video processing in the next couple of hours or so. And yeah, so I will see you in a bit for my next book announcement. All right, bye.